The Nessler wave. Charles Nessler invented the permanent wave and developed it into an essential of present-day feminine living. Queen Alexandra of England and the Empress of Germany became his clients, after royal doctors investigated Nessler's methods and pronounced them safe. Nessler moved to the United States. He patented more than a score of successful hairdressing devices, but lost a fortune on other less practical ideas. Bitter legal battles with pirates who infringed his patents took the balance of Nessler's wealth. The man whose permanent wave earned untold millions died penniless and alone. Charles Nessler was born in Schonau, southern Germany, on May 1, 1872, to a humble shoemaker. His interest in hair began when his sister refused to join him in play because her hair was wound in unsightly rag curlers. Nessler pondered the problem. Walking in the forest, he noticed that twigs, straight when lying in the early morning dew, twisted and curled when the sun came out. Another girl playmate who never had her golden hair in curlers explained the secret to him. She had discovered that, if she held her hair in the steam from her mother's kettle, it went into beautiful curls almost immediately. Young Nessler began to collect hair and try to make it curl. He tried the steam idea on his sister. It made her locks straighter than ever. The resulting row taught Nessler his first lesson: all hair is not the same. Nessler always wanted to be a hairdresser. Opportunities were few amongst his close-cropped countrymen. Accordingly, at 14, he went to Basel in Switzerland and apprenticed himself to a barber. The barber taught him to pull teeth, a profitable sideline then. At 20, Nessler arrived in London. He set himself up as a wig maker and invented a method of making false eyelashes from waste hair from his wigs. Soon he was selling 10,000 pairs of eyelashes a month. The money went into a ceaseless search for the secret of giving hair a permanent wave or curl. Night after night, Nessler experimented in his wig shop. Years passed. Slowly he reached the stage where he was able permanently to curl a strand of hair by treating it with borax, placing it in tinfoil, heating it with gas irons and dipping it in hot water. Nessler built a machine to perform this waving process. On November 8, 1905, he gave his first public demonstration. It nearly caused a riot. Irate London hairdressers attended in force. They tried to smash the machine and manhandled Nessler and his models till they called the police. As with most inventions, the hairdressers feared Nessler's new system. They did their waving by the Marcel process, using iron curlers, and wanted no change. Nessler's machine was so superior, nothing could stop it. He turned his wig shop into a beauty parlour. Every fashionable woman in London flocked there for a wave. Nessler built more machines and sold them at high prices to hairdressers. Queen Alexandra and other members of the royal family had a Nessler wave and went away to sing his praise in aristocratic circles. When Nessler visited his hometown in Germany, he received a royal command from the Kaiser's Empress, personally to wave her hair. With his fame assured, Nessler sent salesmen all over Europe to sell his machines. He married Catherine Liabel, a German governess working in England, and in due course had 2 sons and 2 daughters. The girls, Rose and Catherine, were ready-made models. He practised new waves on their hair at every opportunity. Nessler's dream was to make a wave that would last a woman's lifetime. He never accomplished this. His curls lasted only until new hair grew. That was as permanent as he could make them. With World War I, further business in England was practically impossible for a German like Nessler. He obtained an official clearance and went to the United States. There he developed the permanent wave into big business. He opened a beauty salon on 42nd Street and poured thousands of dollars into advertising. He called on leading socialites, Mrs. Vanderbilt and Mrs. Gould, and described how he had waved the hair of Queen Alexandra and the German Empress. As America's royalty, they graciously followed suit. The shaggy-haired little German, who looked like a professor, then hired the ballroom of the Swagger, Waldorf Astoria, and gave demonstrations of the wave to thousands. He even invaded Fifth Avenue itself with a salon. In 1920, Nessler paid $250,000 for a 49th Street dance hall, which he converted into the largest beauty culture business in the country. His wave sold for $60. All through the 1920s, he collected profits of about $2,000 a day from his salons. He opened a factory on Long Island and mass-produced his machines. In the first 5 years he sold 100,000 at $750 each. In his private laboratory, Nessler continued experiments to improve his wave. Borax was not entirely satisfactory. In some cases it left hair harsh and stiff. He tried hundreds of alternatives until he hit on the fatty substance known as lanolin, obtained from greasy wool. The result was a new wave first offered to women in 1923. Nessler spent $250,000 a year on advertising it. He began large-scale production of home outfits, which sold at $15 and enabled women to do their own perms. Imitations sprang up in America and Europe as pirates raced to take a share of the beauty parlour millions. Nessler fought them bitterly. Another rival appeared and he would have to start all over again. Many beat him by making small alterations to his machines and arguing that there was no infringement of patent. Thousands of dollars went in this way. Nessler, however, was more interested in his laboratory. He was still not satisfied that lanolin was best for the waving process. In due course he replaced lanolin with an alkali solution and varied the strength according to the texture of the hair. To find the texture, Nessler invented another machine, the texometer, or the texometer, which separated hair into 10 different classifications. With the best wave on the market, and well protected now by American patents, Nessler's profits rocketed again. He bought a $100,000 farm in upstate New York, a suburban 25-room mansion, a yacht, a Palm Beach holiday home, and a Manhattan penthouse. By day he toiled in his business, still performing many waves himself because he liked working with hair. At night he poured out articles and books on hair. 3 good sellers he published were Textbook of Permanent Waving, Story of Hair, and Mystery of Vanishing Hair. In 1928, Nessler retired. He sold all his permanent wave interests to a big Cleveland company for $2 million in cash and 70,000 shares worth about another $2 million. Though he intended to work in the company as a director, he found he could not agree with his colleagues and sold his shares. The Wall Street crash came 2 weeks later. Buyers repudiated their share purchases. Nessler received only about 25% of their value. His assets shrank still more in the depression that followed. Much of his cash was invested in real estate second mortgages. With the drop in values, he lost heavily as borrowers defaulted and properties were sold for a fraction of their previous worth. Nessler was unworried at his losses. His only interest was his laboratory and his experiments. Turning to the problem of baldness, he spent thousands advertising for bald guinea pigs, willing to let him try his salves on their heads. First he produced an instrument he called a keroscope. With this he could count hairs and measure hair growth, so he knew exactly what effect the remedies had. An idea for a cure came on a trip to Europe when Nessler heard that a dying dog in Berlin recovered miraculously after drinking stagnant water. He investigated and found the water lay on a bed of coal ashes thrown out from a factory. He bought tons of the factory's ashes and shipped them back to his New York laboratory. From the ashes and various chemicals, Nessler produced a baldness cure which he tried with favourable results on 625 volunteers. He formed a company to market the preparation and gave the shares to his wife and children. Unfortunately, his wife died. Nessler and his children quarrelled over the assets. Following the resultant lawsuit, Nessler, who had put $230,000 into the company, received only $14,000. More inventions poured from Nessler's fertile brain, but he had little money to promote them. Devices he discarded for lack of cash ranged from electric eyebrow tweezers to patent exercising machines and a robot masseur. The final Nessler idea he called the epical discovery of my life. On it he spent the last of his meagre capital. It was a vibrator designed to apply heatless friction to rejuvenate the skin. Nessler spent every cent he had building 150 of the machines. They sold at $370 each. He found buyers for about a dozen of them. Metropolitan Opera star Ganna Wolska bought one and described its action as highly efficacious. Nessler's sight began to fail in his later years. Doctors considered he made his eyes worse by treating them with his own patent ray lamp. Nessler died in a New Jersey slum room on January 2, 1951. His only estate consisted of unsold vibrator machines. On his deathbed, he wrote the following message: "If posterity remembers the name of Charles Nessler, it will be for the discovery of mechanical heatless friction as used in the vibrator." Without exception, obituaries agreed the name of Charles Nessler would be remembered for his work in developing the permanent wave. His vibrator, as they expected, died with him.